Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to the second group mentoring with Lisa. So, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Yes. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, how are you this afternoon, Lisa?
I'm very good, Angie. How are you, darling?
So we've been talking a lot, and today is a more technical approach to the mentoring. They've been asking questions, and I'm sure you will be happy to answer all of them and teach them. Oh, hello, welcome to everyone who just entered. Hi. So this is the second. I'll just repeat for those who just arrived. This is the second group mentoring with Lisa. So if you have other questions, like the ones that you weren't able to ask previously about your businesses, about your business ideas, please feel free to write them down in the comment and I'll be reading them out loud for Lisa to answer.
Let's see if see how many I can answer.
You have an hour. You'll be fine.
Oh, it's more if I actually know the answer.
It's somewhere there.
Let's
Okay,
see.
so we have one question. Can you please give some examples of value propositions? I am struggling to find the concept of it.
The the best way to think about your value proposition is what do you bring to the market that someone else won't bring or can't bring. And quite often we need to do a reflection exercise. We need to look at ourselves and we need to look at our past experiences and expertise and even the things that we've done that we didn't enjoy or we didn't like or were quite challenging and difficult for us. So early on in my career, I spent quite a number of years working in retail, and at one company that I worked for about 8 years while I was finishing my university training and then moving into my industry training, we had some managers that were really not nice people, and they made the workplace quite a difficult place to be in. And what that showed me was the things that I didn't want to actually have when I had my own business. So it was as much about the things that you love and you want to do, as well as the things that you've experienced that you don't want to have. But getting back to a value proposition for a business, it's the things that set you apart and that make you different. So sometimes that can be the impact we want our business to make if it's a social enterprise, our business model, the product or service that we sell or that we create. So there's a whole host of things that can come into the value proposition. So the best idea is to get yourself a whiteboard. I'm looking around, like my big whiteboard's in here. It's not, it's in my husband's office. He's stolen it again. Um, and you guys can't see it anyway because the thing must up. Or a big piece of paper, and basically just brainstorm down all the things that you would bring to your business that someone else can't bring because they're not you. So it might be your training, as I said, different expertise you've had, other industries you've worked in, and then the things that you want to do specifically in your business that are a little bit different. And out of that, that's where you'll find your value proposition and your USP, your unique selling point. It's all in there. And often when you do that, you'll then find the words to name your business if you already haven't come up with a business name. And you'll also find the words to put into your tagline.
I
So
hope
they all
that
come from that
answers the
exercise.
question. Welcome to those who just arrived. Welcome. So, if you have questions about your businesses, about your ideas, or whichever it is that you're struggling with, please do comment your questions in the comment box and I'll read them out loud for Lisa to answer. So, yeah, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So there's a question relating to that as well. So we already have competitors and they have been in the market for longer than we are. We're just starting. Um, do we, is it fine that we still go against it? Maybe the question is it okay that if they start the same business, and how would they succeed if they already have competitors?
So you need to work out, can the person let me know what industry it is or what type of business they
I
want to
believe
open?
it's just a general question.
It's a general
Like,
question.
yeah, it's a general
So,
question.
so you need to go and look at your competitors and you need to work out who their target audience is. Because even if you're going to enter the same industry, you might service a different market segment and have a different target audience. So my long-term business that I've had for 25 years is actually in massage therapy. Remedial massage and sports massage are the things that I specialize in, that my business actually does. And there are a lot. We have, dozens of massage therapists. I'm based in Canberra, the capital of Australia, if anyone's dialing in from overseas. And we have dozens of therapists here in Canberra. But my skill set is quite different. I studied neuroscience and psychology at university before I did massage therapy. I've spent 5 years working with American football, which is not a common sport in Australia. So I bring a different skill set to the table, and I deal with a different market segment than other people in my industry do. So that's often what you have to find is your market segment and who are your people. So you might be dealing with, it might be, what's an example of a business? You could be an accounting firm, for instance, and your competitors deal with a lot of like employees, so people who work in corporate or work in offices, but you want to start helping people that are in small business, or you want to help people who are getting ready for retirement, or people who are entering the workforce and teaching them all those taxation and financial skills that they need when they're actually starting out. So there's multiple audiences just in that. And then other people, like you might find that there's, so you want to do small business accounting, and then there's another firm that wants to do small business accounting, but you want to help people that are in the health industry. So you start to then niche down and make your area even more expert for just that particular group. And I actually know someone in Canberra who's done that. They've niched down to help health practices in accounting and bookkeeping. Yeah.
A follow-up question to that is, how do they find the perfect niche?
Well, again, that sits with your skill set and who your target audience is. So you have to do your homework. You have to do those reflection exercises and look at yourself and go, who am I? What am I going to bring to the table? Are there people out there that will pay for my idea and what I want to do? And then what are the competitors doing? And how can I fit myself into the market?
How can you be
different? Yeah, how can you be different? How can you stand out? Yeah.
Yes. So I hope that answers it. Another question regarding value proposition as well. I understand that the value proposition refers to the creation of value for my customers, for my clients. But if I have different types of customers, like different age, genders, incomes, how can I generalize one unique value proposition that would meet all of their requirements?
Again, it depends on your product or service. So if you're a can of Coke, you're going to appeal to a lot of people. If you're a $150 bottle of wine, that market segment is going to be smaller. So you need to understand who your product is, and sometimes you can have multiple target audiences, and the value propositions might be slightly different. So you might be a business that makes a product that sells like B2C, so business to customer, but you also might sell the product B2B, business to business. And so the value propositions for those two target audiences are quite different. I was actually talking to my niece about it this week. Her and I have been chatting. Her and her husband have a design and joinery business here in Australia.
Oh.
And they're doing a lot of redevelopment at the moment. They're getting ready to rebrand. And we were discussing with her how they send out their quoting and how they can change their quoting system and to be mindful of who they're actually communicating with. So I've actually had conversations about that yesterday and today.
Oh yeah, your niece who's a designer, right?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So her and her husband, they specialize in kitchens and bathrooms mainly, but they do other built-in products, I suppose they are really, aren't they? They make furniture.
What others do, like I noticed what others do is that, for example, they're in retail, they have a higher end of the product and they have a mid and lower end so that they could accommodate several what do you call this, several segments of their clients,
Market
as
segment.
well as even the design. Even the design, like this would appeal to the younger generation, this would appeal to the more experienced generation. So yeah, it depends on your target market. Let's not call them old. They're experienced.
Why? Wise. I get my mum when she says I'm old. I'm going, no, you're wise. My mum's in her 80s. Change the language.
You're not old. But yeah, I guess it would really depend on how you see yourself and even your brand, right? I think that calls for the branding as well.
It does. So generally there's three types of brands. You can either be cheaper, you can be more expensive, or you can be different. So, where does your value proposition and target audience and niching sit within those three things? Because often when you're different, you're meeting your target audience is quite niche and little, generally speaking, not always, but that's an example. So you're really tailoring down to the needs of that one group. Yeah.
Because realistically speaking, you can't have everyone as your target market. You have to narrow them down.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, there are like obviously massive global brands. Coke is one of, like, it was the first thing that came to my mind before when I was trying to think of a brand that appeals to lots of people in different generations and all that. But even then, when you look at their actual products that Coke sell, they've got Coke Zero, they've got Coke in the old school glass bottles, they've got sugar-free, they've got all the different flavors, and they'll bring out a range for a short period of time to try and grab back an old customer that they've potentially lost because that product's no longer around. So they do it all the time as well. They're niching, they've got market segmentation all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. Okay, the next question would be, can you walk me through the steps on how we'll create our own value proposition, and how will you recommend us to start since we are just a startup company?
Well, it's what I took you through before. So you come up with an idea. So whatever your idea is for your business, you go out to people, ideally people that you don't know, because the people that you do know will just want to be nice and supportive, where people that you don't know will be more honest about whether they'll pay you money for this or not. So take your idea out to people that you don't know. So if you're in a university or school situation, maybe if your target audience are your classmates, maybe speak to them, maybe speak to parents of friends if your product's for some or services for someone a little bit older. Put a post up on your social media, go, hey, doing a little bit of market research for an assignment at the moment. Would you buy this product? Or where do you, if you currently buy, sports shoes, where do you get your sports shoes from? Do you buy them online? Do you go to a store? Is it a specialty store? Is it a general department store? So ask around. So you don't have to, if you're worried about revealing your idea, then there's ways you can ask questions around it. And then ask people, or this is my idea. Would you pay me money for it? How much would you pay me? Because you might think you're going to get $20 a product and someone's like, oh, no, I'd pay $50 for that, or vice versa. You think you're going to get 100 and people are going to go, no, I'm only going to pay $50 for that. And then once you've determined that your idea is viable, as in people would pay you money for it, then you start to look at your competitors to see who else is out there that's going to service this target market and this target audience. Mm-hmm. And then you need to sit down and go through the whiteboard or the blank canvas that I spoke about earlier, if you have been with us since the start, which is to basically just brainstorm things that you will bring to this business that you can't get anywhere else. So that goes back to you, who you are, what other education or training that you have, other expertise. Sometimes it's family stuff, like, you might want to go and start making the cakes that your grandmother used to make, and you know that nobody makes them anymore like she used to make them, and you've got that tradition where she taught you from when you were little, and then you're now in your 20s, so you've got 20 years of experience making this cake, even though you're only 24 or 25 or something. So, or you want to create a business around helping someone with a disability, and you've got a brother or a sister or your aunt or your uncle or your parent have been through that disability, so you understand what it's like to be a carer, and you understand that. So often we get experience from our personal life. It's not always paid, where we've had a job or we've volunteered or something. So just be quite open-minded about where you've got your experience from. And then what are you going to do that's different in the business? Is it, as I said, is it the business plan? Is it your customer service? Is it your branding? Is it that you're going to deliver it in a different language? There's a whole host of things there that you can work on, and your value proposition will come out of that process.
There you go. I hope that answered it. That's a very that's a very detailed tip and procedure.
And sometimes what's the best thing to do is, if you're working with a team, then the people who kind of flow better with thoughts and words, get them to just speak and someone scribe it down. Or if it's you're working by yourself, find someone, a friend, a family member, to be the scribe for you. Because what happens is, when we start to brainstorm, we go into a theta brainwave state. And when we start to write down, we swap back into beta waves, I think. And that stops the flow of the theta wave. So often, like, I get my best ideas when I'm in the shower, because I kind of drift off, and other people will say the same thing, or they're doing a mundane task like washing up or ironing or sweeping or something, and then their brain just starts to flow and the ideas start to flow. But if you go grab a pen and paper at that point, you'll stop that flow. So having someone else scribe for you, so you can just stay in flow and just get all the ideas out, that's the best way to get your ideas out for your value proposition.
That is very relatable. Like, if you're doing something random and then an idea comes to you, you just have to wait, I need to write that down. And then the minute you get the hold of your pen, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Exactly. Yes. I keep wanting to get like a texter that you can write on tiles or on the glass in the shower. We've never done it.
Hold a recorder or something.
Yeah,
record everything. Hello, everyone. Those who just joined, hello, welcome. Glad to have you with us this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are from. Please comment down your questions, and Lisa will be happy to answer them for you, about your businesses, about your startups. Yes. Oh, there's a question that is related to what you've answered last time. So it's bootstrapping versus investors. So they are a startup company, not really a startup, but they have an idea, but it's very difficult for them to start that particular startup because they don't have funds for it. So what are your tips for them to be able to move forward with their idea?
So again, it depends on what the idea is. So if it's something that you can so when you bootstrap, you retain full ownership of your business and your idea. And normally when you bring in investors, sometimes not, but I'd say 98% of times, they will actually have a part ownership in your business and your business idea. So some people are quite open to that. Other people are a little bit more of a control freak, like me, who doesn't like giving up control. So it depends on you and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve and how quickly you're trying to achieve it. So if you want to develop your business and grow it in a short period of time to get it ready for sale for some reason, like that's your idea, you want to sort of churn and burn and move through, then you'll probably have to look at investors. If you're someone else who wants to invest and grow something yourself and grow it quite organically, then bootstrapping is more applicable. There are lots of different ways you can make money now. You can look at crowdfunding campaigns. I've had quite a few friends be quite successful with crowdfunding. I've had one friend use it to write a book. I've had another friend use it to develop and launch a product. You can look for wherever you are in the world. There's often a lot of pitch type competitions and pitch fests, and you can enter those and you can actually win money. I've been a part of a couple of those over the years, and first prize we got a heap of like coaching and like in-kind support given to us, and then the second competition we entered, we came third and we won cash. So there was a cash prize the second competition. So there's multitude of ways. You could ask find your target audience and clients and ask them to sort of have that crowdfunding, but that share to buy into your idea beforehand, and then they're the first person that you obviously take it to. And then so a lot of people, a lot of movie producers and things use it now when they're want to do like there's been a TV series that stops and then they want to do a movie, so they crowdfund for that and all the fans get on board. There was a racetrack built here in Queensland in Australia. I can't remember the name of the track off the top of my head, but they did that. They pre-sold lifetime memberships to the racetrack for once it was built, and people got on board, and that money from the people who are eventually going to become their lifetime members actually funded the development of the racetrack. And then, of course, there's the traditional asking friends and family, going through some type of business loan, or then going down the angel investor or investor. You can also, depending on where you are, you can look at for business grants. So sometimes the grant will be, so we've got several grants here in the Canberra region. Some of them are like, will give you, like there's a process. So you've got to present your business idea. So all of that's got to be, clear and concise to go through this process. But then so you put your business ideas together, you answer a series of questions, you have to film yourself, like one of them here in Canberra, you have to film yourself doing a pitch, and I think you have 60 seconds or 120 seconds. It's like really, really short.
Yeah.
And then if you're shortlisted, you then have to present to a panel of judges, but there's up to $30,000 available, but you have to live in the Canberra region. But that's an example that I know of. And then other grants, there may be a like for like, a dollar for dollar. So they'll give you $10,000, but you have to put in $10,000 of your own money. So you have to look at what's available where you are. And here in Australia, it varies on the state or the territory that you live in. And so sometimes there's local funding, as in there's New South Wales government funding or ACT government funding, or there's federal, like national funding. And I'm sure it's similar around the globe, depending on where everybody is. I'm quite lucky because my business is registered in the ACT, but I live in New South Wales. I can actually look at opportunities in both areas, and not everyone has that capability. So things to look at though. But there's multiple ways. But if it's a tech business, like a business that has some type of technology in it, or you want to grow it really quickly, then angel investing or getting some investments are probably the way that you would need to go.
You can probably research as well, like from where you are. Like
yes.
There are a lot of pitch competitions and a lot of private companies also supporting startups, if I'm correct.
There are, yeah. And also too, there's some competitions that are international. So regardless of where you are, you can, you could be competing in the Middle East and be here in Australia or in the UK or something. So, and
with the pandemic now, there's Zoom. So
exactly. Yeah.
Very accessible. There's a question to that. Like, are debts normal? Are having debts normal together with owning businesses? And how do you deal with such?
Well, it depends on what you mean by debt. So if you're taking out a business loan, so if you go to your bank and they give you $50,000 to start your business, that's a debt. That's a business loan that needs to be paid back. And when you're working out your financials, your loan repayment would be part of an ongoing expense until the loan's paid back. Getting into business and creating debt for some reason. So we had a business that didn't go. We had a business partner in one of our businesses over 10 years ago now, and it didn't go well because he got the business into debt. And what he did was he just kept on ordering stock and not processing it and not selling it. And when we took over the business, we had a storeroom full of, I don't know, I'd say at least $30,000 worth of stock in the storeroom that he didn't sell. He just thought he'd send it back for a credit because he realized he couldn't pay for it. And we're like, that cash flow doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. You still have to make money in the between when the stock's arrived, when you pay for it, and when you can get a credit on returning it to the supplier. It doesn't work that way. So I would do everything I can to minimize the amount of debt that you have in your business, because it's going to impact your profits. It's going to impact how much you can pay yourself. It's going to impact the sustainability of the business. So minimizing your debt is really important. And that's often being sensible about what we buy. Like we go, oh, that office chair, that's $1,000. It's the comfiest thing my bosham has ever sat in. Or I could buy the $100 chair that does the job and it's okay. I think I'll buy the $100 chair and have the $1,000 chair for a goal in 12 months' time or 2 years' time. So being sensible about what we buy.
You can buy a lot of things once your business goes up.
Exactly. Yeah. When I teach business planning at another organisation, another RTO, what I mainly see is the students, when they have to do their cash flow forecasting as part of their assignment, is that they're paying themselves too much too soon, and they're quickly racking up, getting themselves into debt because the amount they want to pay themselves is not in keeping with how much money is actually coming into the business. So that's another thing people have to look at.
A follow-up question to that is, do we need, as a startup, do we already need to hire accountants, or can we do it on our own first? Because we don't have the budget for that yet.
So it depends on how good you are with numbers, how willing you are to learn new things. When my husband and I started our businesses, it was almost 30 years ago. And I used to do all the data entry because I worked in retail and I'm really quick on a keyboard from all those years as a checkout chick. And he used to look at the information that was being put in. And we did our own bookkeeping for probably about 14 years. Mm-hmm. And then I went, I've had enough of this. It was causing me a lot of stress. We'd gotten more businesses. It was quite complicated. And then we handed it off to an accountant, and I've taken it back. In the last 2 years, I've taken it back because our businesses have simplified dramatically, and I've also moved into cloud accounting, which is much, much easier. So using cloud accounting, but I would invest in some type of training if you want to do the bookkeeping yourself. I have there's a lady, I'm friends with her here in Canberra, but she's quite well known. Her name's Amanda Fisher. She's known as the Cash Flow Queen, and she's got several books. She's had a podcast. The podcast is all free. Her books are quite reasonable, and she actually breaks down all of the financial information that a business owner needs to understand. And what she's really good at is actually showing you when this number's funny, then this will impact your business down the track. So these are the things you have to look at. But like learning from someone like Amanda, or finding someone locally that you can go and do a little bit of training through. I was looking at my emails, waiting to log in before, and Business Tricks here in Australia have got a numbers course coming up in a few weeks. I don't know if the Academy has something else that they offer in the business numbers space, do they?
They're thinking about, the Academy is also thinking about giving classes for for people who need help with financial literacy and all, because it's really vital if you have your
It
business.
is, yeah. And it's an area that I still don't feel overly confident with, even though I've been in business for 29 years. But when someone takes me through it, like, because I've done, numerous little mini workshops and stuff over that time. And when I attend them and they ask me questions, I know the answers. So it's that self-doubt, not the fact that I don't actually know. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are other like, for me personally, I'm not good with numbers. I need help, and I would rather ask for help, because I don't want to make that mistake, because that's numbers, those are money, and it's very important, and you don't want to make a mistake with your money, because as a startup, definitely, especially if you're a startup, you don't want that. So what I did was, I had help so I contacted an accounting firm that my mom already works with her own company, and you maybe can tell your story, you can talk to them. At times they will help you out, because it's they love doing what they do. So I told them that I'm a startup, this and that, and they helped me. Actually, they didn't ask me to pay for the full amount that they do, because they just told me that, hey, you're a startup, we understand this and that, and here you go, this will be the figures that you're gonna pay, and it's like more than half, because they know that you're just starting. So maybe you could also do that. That's probably an option.
Yeah.
Because if you're like me and you don't know a thing about numbers, it's very important.
Yeah, but there's heap, like, nowadays it's much easier to learn. Like,
Yes.
there's podcasts, there's you could type into Google, like, free YouTube tutorial or something on how to do things. Like, it's really easy, and cloud accounting makes it much easier. So what cloud accounting does is, your bank account will receive, you'll pay things out of your bank account, money will go into your bank account, and then you connect that to your cloud accounting, and all those debits and credits that go into your business account magically appear in all your files online in your cloud accounting, and then you just log into your cloud accounting and you allocate them. And what you can do is, you can teach the cloud accounting, going, oh, that payment's wages, that one's my insurance, that one's for cleaning, whatever the costs are, that's the rent, that's my loan repayment. And then it'll go in and it'll match it. And then all you have to do is go, yep, that's right, yep, that's right, yep, that's right. Click, 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 click. And you've reconciled. So there's no more sitting there with your bank statement going, oh, I paid insurance $100 and I paid fuel for $50. Like, it doesn't, you don't have to do that anymore. So I can reconcile our bank account now in minutes, literally minutes.
The apps make it easier.
Hours.
The apps make it easier. At least you don't have to review everything from the books, like the big books of accounting.
Yeah. Back in the day with paper and pen. Yeah. No, because my husband's in IT. He wrote us a program before like there was software programs. So we've had our own program for years, and then I had to learn MyOb, which I hated. And now we've gone to something else, which is better. So
I really can't. But yeah, I hope that answers it. Okay, moving to the next questions. Do you have any recommendations on how quickly to test your revenue models and select the most viable one?
Well, you have to, once you found your target audience, then you need to work out how much they're going to pay you. It also depends on like what you're delivering. So if you're delivering, again, it goes back to branding too. Is your product meant to be cheaper, more expensive, or different? And then that will impact how much you can charge for it. So if it's meant to be cheaper, it's got to be cheaper. If it's more premium, then how much more premium, and what makes it more premium, and if it's different, then often that that'll position it in the marketplace as well. So that might come back to packaging. If it's a service, you might package it differently than other people do, than a competitor does. And then that will set the price point. And also, too, the revenue streams, you've got to make sure that you're meeting your break-even point. So you need to work out your break-even, which is another financial skill that you all need to have.
Oh my gosh, all the computations.
Yeah, the break-even is really important. It's not that hard to do, but it's really, really important to do.
Welcome to those who just arrived. Good afternoon. Welcome. If you have any questions about your businesses, about your startups, please do leave a comment and I'll read them out loud for Lisa to answer. So yeah, welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So Lisa, for a new, there's a question, a startup question. So how do we find our purpose? Like, how do we find the why? Because I think it's being asked to us a lot, like, why are we starting the business? So how do we are there any tips where to find our own purpose and how we'll sell it to the people?
So the why is generally we start a business because we can either see a gap in the market. We can see, so when I started my massage business, I was working in another practice and I could see that the way that they were doing things wouldn't be the way that I wanted to do things in business. They were much more transactional, where I'm much more community. I want to know people. I want to support them. And the other business I worked, I just basically wanted them to come in for the massage and go away. I didn't want to have that connection with their client base. And so I left working for them and opened up my practice, moved my home practice into bigger premises. But often it's also about fixing a problem, or we see a gap in the market. My events business, which I started in 2015. So not only do I have a massage practice, a health practice, but I also have an events business. I started that to share more stories that were inspiring and positive, to create that wave of inspiration and positivity in our local community, and to find those people who had really interesting stories, who faced challenges, and getting them to share how they got through it and what they learned and the wisdom they got out of that. So I saw a gap in the market and I filled it there. But often it can be a problem that we have, It can be the fact that, for a lady, you can't find a comfortable bra. And you think, well, I can't be the only one that doesn't like their bra. Everyone, I think almost every woman in Australia that I know has been quite happy about restrictions and staying at home because they're going bra free or wire free. Like, there's been a whole change there. So that's an example. The fact that you might find it really challenging to buy your bus ticket, or whatever it is, wherever you have something that gives you friction or makes you annoyed or frustrated, if you're passionate enough about it, then that could be your why of what you want to do. Often I think, I've done some lecturing for the Academy as well, and I know a lot of the Academy stuff talks about the United Nations Sustainable Goals and looking for something that's going to create global impact. And often when you're starting out, that's really overwhelming, and you're like, oh my God, how am I meant to come up with an idea that's going to...
There are a lot.
Yeah. Oh, not just 100 people, but hundreds of thousands, if not hundreds of millions of people. And you don't have to start that big to create positive change and impact. Exactly. And often what will happen is your business idea will change and it'll morph and it'll move. So I'm at the moment, even after being in business for 29 years, where I'm kind of having a little bit of break from being in my businesses, because I know I need to pivot. I need to change what I'm doing. And so I'm having a little bit of break from being client facing. So
every now and then you have to change something, like to pivot something to pivot, I think, is the right term for it, right? You have
it
to
is. Yeah, very much so. Yes, I keep saying I'm pivoting, but I haven't quite finished pivoting. I think I'm just spinning on the spot at the moment.
Same. I feel the same way. Oh, okay. So there's a question. For a startup, do we immediately need to have our own website?
You can. Again, it depends on what you're doing. If you want to have a shopping cart, if you want to sell online products yourself, yes, there's other ways of doing it. There's Etsy and whatever else that I'm unaware of because I'm not in that space. Um, you can. I know there's. I've got artist friends that are on. I think it's Blue Thumb or something here in Australia. It's Blue something. I think it's Blue Thumb, and they do all just art. There's other platforms like that. Or if you want to build a community, then I would recommend having a website because then you own all of the information and you can get people to sign up and things. There are other ways of doing it that are a bit clunky, but you can do it. When I started Therapy Masters, my massage practice, I was one of the first massage people in Canberra to have a website. This is almost 20 years ago. It's a long time ago, but there was only, I think, maybe 2 other businesses that had a website. Now everybody has a website. Canberra Wise Women, which is my events business, I started it in 2015. It still doesn't have a website, and I've just built that community through social media. So it's not as much of a requirement now as it was in the past, but you've got to look at what you're doing and how much time and effort and money you want to put into it. So one of the reasons I've never created a business for Canberra Wise Women is because I was trying to bootstrap it. So I was trying to build up enough money in the business. So starting the business basically from nothing. I had to actually wait for the payment to come in from Eventbrite before I could pay all of the people that gave services to me beforehand. And just let them know, look, I'm really sorry, I've got to wait for my Eventbrite payment come in and I can pay you next week. And everyone was very lovely about it and let me do that. But until I built some money up, and then I became unwell, and then we've had lockdowns and a pandemic. So I've never actually built up that $5,000 to $10,000 that I would need to have in that business to be able to invest into a website. And that's why I don't have a website for Canberra Wise Women, because I'm a control freak and I like to bootstrap everything.
It's not. Sometimes we tend to, I think it's because we think of it as our baby, like our businesses, so we have to control everything about it. And yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question would be, this I believe is a service kind of business. So I am struggling to price my business. I want to create a marketplace where, he's an artist. So okay. I want to create a marketplace where artists can sell their creations. What advice would you give to select the right price and strategy to start?
Well, so my first questions for this person are, what type of artists? So can anybody, or is it for sculptors? Is it for ceramicists? Is it for painters or people who work with fabric or paper? Like, are you servicing everybody, or are you niching down to one group in particular? So that would be one question. So once you've decided on who your target audience is, I would go and talk to them and say, if I was going to set this up, and then you have to think about what business model you're going to have. Are you going to have a subscription-based model where they pay, say, $10 I don't know, I'm just making figures up. So $10 a month over a 12-month period, and they can sell as much as they want through the site? Are you going to do commission-based? Are you going to come up with another, like it's pay as you go? I want to put up my painting, so it's going to cost me $100. I have no idea. Most sites like that, as far as I'm aware, are commission-based. So we've had here in Canberra, it's called Handmade Market. So back in the day, they used to have commercial premises, and everything was sold on consignment. So if you were an artist, you made anything, soap, cakes, chocolate, clothing, candles, whatever, artwork, you could basically rent a space in the shop. So you might have a shelf, you might have a bookcase, you might have a full stand, and then you'd rent that, and then whatever they sold for you, because they had staff, you would also pay a commission on your item that was sold to also fund it. So they had a double business model of renting the space and commission. Now they let go of their commercial space quite a number of years ago, and they actually hold just a really big market, and everyone pays for a market stall. But I would go to your audience and ask them how much they would pay for that and what business model would suit them. I think most artists expect a commission model, because then there's no upfront costs for them. They just don't get quite the full amount for the item that's being sold once it's sold. So there's no cash up front for the artist, because obviously creative people often can struggle, don't always, but can struggle with finances.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I was going to say something else. I've lost my train of thought, but that's okay. It'll come back to me. And then I would look at competitors, because as I just mentioned before, I know here in Australia there's Blue Thumb. I'm sure it's Blue Thumb or Blue Art Gallery or something is a site. There's Etsy. So you'd have to go and have a look at the competitors in the market and find out how much they actually sell for. I'd ask your target audience, what other platforms have you been on? What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? Because there'll be gaps there that you could be filling yourself. So yeah, hopefully that all helps.
I think the marketplace will be for all artists, nothing in particular. So, and also, how can I just pick one revenue model? Seems everything is logical to me. So subscription, leasing, and direct sales. How would they know which is which for them?
You have to ask the target audience what they want.
You have to do your market research, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then in that, you might find that 80% of people want one of those and 20% want something else, and you might be able to offer both. But if it's going to cost you more money to set up this 20%, then you're not going to worry about those people. You're only going to focus on that 80%. And often too, you'll just focus on the 80% initially, and then 12 months down the track, you might add in the other business model for the other, because you don't have to be all things to all people from the start. You're allowed to do little bits at a time.
And just keep adding once you're okay with the previous services that you have. It's easier to add than to have them all at once, and you can't concentrate on the other.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes. But you'll have to ask your target audience.
There you go. Next to me, can you please walk us through how you started your own business? We're a startup and we want to have a guide on how we do things accordingly. Can you please tell us, Lisa, how you started with your own business from the top?
So Therapy Masters, which is my massage practice, when I studied massage 25 years ago, you were classed as professionally qualified within the first semester. But my course went for over 2 years because it was a newer course with a lot more content in it. So I waited until the end of my first year of study when I had here in Australia, what's called a Certificate 4. And I finished that, and then I started my massage business. I started it from home. I was still working in retail, and I was studying full-time, working in retail and seeing clients of a weekend and of an evening. And then when I finished my massage course, I worked more hours in retail while I was building the massage business. And then one of the new managers, when I worked in retail, one of the new managers found out that I just completed my massage training, and he offered me work with American football. So that's how I actually got into working with American football. And then I spent 5 years working with American football, which meant I used to go to training usually just one night a week, sometimes two, once we were getting towards the finals. And then I'd be basically away for most of Saturday. I'd be at the field. Gridiron is a very long game for those who've ever been to a game. And you'd be at the field for at least 6 hours, if not longer. So it's a lot of time. And then I left working in retail and started working at a massage practice. So then I was just in the industry full time. I worked in that practice for about 2 years, and always with the longer goal, the bigger goal of moving my home-based business into commercial premises. And I worked from home for 7 years. I worked for that practice for 2 years, and then I decided it was time. And as I said before, I wanted to leave working for that practice because I didn't like their customer service really, and their values didn't sit with me. And I opened my business up in Canberra City in 2004. And then over the subsequent years, over the next probably up until probably 2016, 2017. So that's, what's that, 10, 11, 12 years? Can I do maths today? Yeah, probably 12 years. I built the business up, and I had 11, 12 people working for me in the business. And then around 2016, 2017, I started to have staff leave, and I just didn't replace them because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I started doing more teaching. So I started teaching in the massage industry, so teaching business firstly, and then teaching some technical subjects and law and ethics and a few other things I've taught. And then with COVID, I made the decision to close my commercial premises in 2020, and I brought the business back home. So normally in the last couple of years around lockdowns and things, I've been teaching and I've seen some clients. And I also lead a women's networking group in Canberra as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
so I've started small, I've grown it big, and then I've made it small again.
Shows also too, if your question was whether or not she had an investor. At first she did bootstrap, like she mentioned also in the last session. So I think they were curious on how you managed to make it grow like until now. So you started with bootstrapping, everyone. So
yeah, I mainly bootstrapped. So when we moved from home, so initially at home, like buying the first massage table and equipment, we just used personal funds to buy it, and to do the course and all the training, that kind of stuff was just personal funds. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved from home into commercial premises, so when the space that I actually had 4 treatment rooms. So, and I only had 1 table. So we bought a second electric table. We used, because my husband has his own business as well. So I, had some money out of his business invested into my business. And then my in-laws actually loaned me $6,000, but I paid that back within the first 6 months. So I didn't pay myself a wage, and I just put all of my profit into paying my in-laws back their money with interest in the first 6 months that I had the business. And then from there, every time I wanted to expand or do something in the business, I would work, I'd save the money up. And then when I had enough money to buy the next massage table, I'd go shopping and buy the next massage table. And we set up really cheaply. Yeah, we were loaned furniture. We got furniture secondhand and repainted it. So like I had a friend's couch for about 2 years that she didn't want, and then eventually I gave it back to her and I bought a couch. I had friends moving who we had a whippersnipper that we weren't using, a brush cutter, depending on where you are, what they're called. And so we traded a brush cutter for their old microwave, and that was the microwave that went in the tea room in the business. Wow. So we did stuff like that. I had another friend's dining room chairs that they didn't want. I had them for years and then eventually gave them back to them when I bought new furniture.
Yes, slowly upgrading isn't bad. You slowly upgrade, especially if you don't have the budget yet.
Yeah, and then like my second, and so I bought 1 electric table. I had my original portable massage table. I rented a table. For 3 or 4 years because it was cheaper than buying. And then the next 2 massage tables I bought them secondhand because they were cheaper.
Yep.
So slowly but surely grew over a period of years. Yeah.
With that,
slowly add another staff member to the team, build the client base, start to have too many clients, find another therapist, grow it again. Yeah.
With that, there's a question. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that startups do that make them fail?
Growing too big too quickly and not understanding finances and cash flow.
There you go. That's very brief but very true. It's very true. Like, yeah, so she discussed earlier as well, like how she upgraded things slowly, because majority of the startups would go buy themselves new ones already. So I
Yeah.
think we could learn from that like a lot.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
quite lucky because my husband's very handy, so he can fix things, paint things, remake things. He's very talented.
You have to make do with what you have as well first, right?
Very
Yeah.
much so, yeah.
Perfect.
And
Yes.
often if you walk through your house, you realize you've got excess stuff that you can take into the business. So you've got like extra coffee cups or an old printer that's stuck in a wardrobe. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah. So we have a question. How do we calculate the market size and how much time should I spend in market research?
A lot. Again, it depends on where you are. If you're here in Australia, if you go to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, their website is abs.gov.au. You will be able to find information, statistics about the area of where you are. And then it's about the more you know about your client base, the target audience, the easier it is. But you can, depends on the industry. Like some industries will have annual reports you can look at. You can Google, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
Type in statistics or
statistics or like
any random word actually.
you know, sporty women in Canberra or something, and you'll see what comes up. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something that you could research. The Australian Bureau of Statistics is a great website. There's lots of really good information there. It's easy to search. It's free. You can pay them to do some market research for you, but that's money that you potentially don't need to spend if you're bootstrapping. Yeah. You can put together Survey Monkey. You can use that as an app, or you can set up an account for free. You can have 10 questions, so you can email that out to people. You can put that up on your social media. You can go around to the other stores that could be your competitors and have a look and if they've got physical stores. Obviously, if they're just online, go and Google and check out their website. So you need to do your homework. You need to spend quite a bit of time doing market research.
Don't rush it. I think, yeah, you don't have to rush it because you don't want to make that mistake, especially when you're just starting out. You're going to spend a lot of time.
Yeah, and often we think our idea is fantastic and people like the idea, but they wouldn't actually pay us money for it.
That's true. That's true. So what are your recommendations to test different markets and how do we choose the most promising one? I think this is in the service industry.
Again, so it depends on what your product or service is. If it's a service, you could have some type of test group that you take through. Or offer like a trial period, like a restaurant will do what's called a soft launch, where they'll serve part of the menu and they generally invite family and friends or connections, part of their network, into their soft launch, and then they get feedback. What was good, what was bad, what don't you like, what do you like? And then they start to see how people move through the space and they realize the tables are in the wrong spot, or the bins behind the toilet door and you can't open and you can't get in when there's 6 ladies trying to get into the toilet, all that kind of stuff. So you could do something like that. You can obviously do more surveys. You can send out samples if it's a product business. There's a whole heap of things that you can do. And again, it depends on what your business is, if it's a product or a service.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, it will vary. Yeah, it varies per business, per service. yeah, so you have to, again, do your research about who your market is, and then you go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. What are your tips? We're a startup company. What are your tips on how we'll succeed? That's a very broad question.
Yeah, I need more information. It depends. What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to
Get into the market itself?
Yeah.
It's
Are you trying to?
it's that. It's how
Yeah.
to enter the market successfully and actually gaining more clients. So I think that's the question.
Sorry, what is the question?
Like how, since they're a startup company, they're starting up. So how would they successfully merge into the market and have people notice them? And
Well, again, it depends on what the business is. But like if you're launching, you need to create interest. So you need to have some level of social media, maybe a website, maybe a launch party, maybe some articles in the local media, on the radio, in magazines. Again, it depends on what you're doing. And launching, make it interesting, make it exciting. It's like the biggest birthday party you've ever put together, and you want people to be interested in it. You want to tell the backstory about why you're launching this business and who are you and who are the other people on your team and why are people going to come to you. And if you're fitting out a commercial space, those behind the scenes shots of what you're doing, people like to see that. Or your product in development, so it's building that interest and getting people on board before you launch. So when you launch, they want to buy what you have.
That's true. Thank you. Welcome to all those who entered. We are we're almost done. Oh no, but we can accommodate two. Can we accommodate two more?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Welcome to those who just arrived. Oh hi. Hello, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Okay, let me just get this. Okay. Coming from a startup company, but we already have a lot of competitors. We know that we have to be different, but it's difficult. So how do we find the perfect niche or activity to be different?
I need more information.
Okay, let us know. What
industry or something,
kind of industry, and just to answer it in general, what do you think? Like, let's say they're in service or in retail and they're already in the market.
Well, you're best to do a SWOT analysis, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for your competitors, or a competitor SWOT and a competitor analysis, and see where the gaps are. So where the other business has gaps, they're opportunities for you. When my massage business opened in Canberra City, I had a competitor. I had competitors within a couple of blocks. I probably had 3-4 competitors within like walking distance of my business, like a city block. So really close, if not close. One of them was closest. They were only about half a block away. The one that was half a block away, they used to make it really difficult for people to reschedule or cancel appointments, and they used to have all these extra fees. Mm-hmm. So I knew that. So I had none of those fees, and that got me more clients because I was easy to deal with. So sometimes it's not about what you do. It can be also about what you don't do. But have a look at where their gaps are.
So again, we're going back to, you have to know your market, and you also have to do your competitors' research. Oh, speaking of it, what are your tips on researching your competitors and checking them out? We have a lot of things in common. I think the questions are like interlocked together, like how to be different and how to be.
So try your competitor, buy from them, book an appointment with them, and see what they're like. If they've got physical premises, go and visit them. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How does it make you feel? And that'll help you work out whether you've got the same target audience or not. You know, they might be really, really sterile and harsh, and you want to be really warm and friendly. So just walking into your two premises are totally different experiences, and they're going to attract different customers, different target audiences.
Like I did that once. Like I mentioned that I have a bakery, so I bought a lot of cookies from other bakeries, and then I had my family and friends compare them, and so you adjust every now and then. Like you have to check as well, like which is your closest competitor and which is the strongest one as well, just for you to, you know, identify the weakness and the strengths or whatever it is that could be you know, improved, that you could offer to other people.
And sometimes it also comes down to, like, Angie going to check like cookies and biscuit. We call them biscuits in Australia.
Biscuits, yeah.
Where in America, a biscuit is like a dirty, salty scone. They're not good. A scone in Australia is something different. But anyway, a cookie. I'll call it a cookie. But even how the cookie was packaged, that's part of the experience. How the staff served you. Do they have a smile on their face? Is the board with the food, like the options of what you can buy, is it easy to read? Like, as I've gotten older and I need glasses, things that are written really small, I can't read. If my target audience was an older audience, I need to have a big font. I need to have a big size lettering. So that in all of that, looking at all of those really tiny attention to detail things, and if you're not an attention to detail person, find someone to help you with this. That's where you'll find your competitive advantage. After you've checked out your customers. So if you've got like a really greasy cookie, like a really oily one, and you put it in a bag and it runs out the bottom, and like Subway cookies are like that in Australia, they're, you know, it's like grease spot. Like if you change the packaging on that can change the experience for people.
That's true. Okay, last, because of the time, but again, you could message Lisa. We have her socials, but she can share it as well, so you can message her and ask her questions, connect with her. That would be
I'm in the Facebook group too.
There you go. So what will be your tips for startup companies, like your top 2 tips for them to follow? You can do it. That's the last question.
And that's my furry daughter barking in the background. I'm sorry. There'll be something that there's probably a magpie in the driveway she's not happy about. She doesn't like magpies. They're a bird in Australia if you're not here. Find an idea that you're passionate about. So it's one thing to see a problem and go, oh yeah, I could fix it, and you have no buy-in, no interest, no passion. That will not drive you when business gets challenging, and business gets challenging.
That's true.
Business is often more challenging than not. So find something that you're passionate about and understand your numbers. I think of as the initial numbers and target audience. So there's 3 tips really. So something you're passionate about, do your homework, do your research on who your target audience is, and get to understanding your numbers and be willing to invest in that. And even a 4th tip is probably the willingness to always be learning.
Yay. There you go. Yeah. I think the last one is very crucial as well.
Yeah. If I've moved that to 2, then the other 2 kind of fall under that one.
Because we always have to learn new things, especially that changes like a lot. And well, thank you everyone for joining us. For those who just entered, I am sorry, but it has come to an end.
Be here an hour earlier next week.
Yes. So thank you all of you who joined us this afternoon, and thank you, Lisa, for being with us again. It's amazing to have you as always. So bye guys. We're logging out now from Facebook Live. So thank you again for joining.
Thanks everybody.
Yes, please connect with Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, honey.